In this session, I'm going to be explaining to you how to get started with an evidence-based research. So I believe there will definitely be some questions that you might want to ask me.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions to ask?
Yes, I have a question.
Alright, so what's your question?
So my question is, if you want to conduct a systematic review or research, how do you go about it?
Beautiful. So
What are the steps?
it takes 5 steps for you to publish a systematic review. And the first step now is to do what? Identify a problem. Okay, so immediately if you identify the problem, it means that you already 50% ready to have a systematic review started. And then the next thing you need to do is to do what? You need to develop a search strategy. So what this encompasses is that when you've identified the problem, you need to search in several databases to be sure that that particular evidence or that particular problem that you've identified is something that has not yet been done by another author. All right, so immediately you've developed a compelling search strategy which comprises of various search terms. The next thing you need to do is to do what? You need to select studies. All right, so what we usually do here is when we've identified the problem, we've searched relevant databases. Now we identify the studies that we are going to use in conducting this systematic review. And then when we get those studies, it could be 10, it could be 11, it could be 20 studies, it could be 300 studies, as many studies as possible. The next thing we need to do is to do what? We need to extract data and also perform what we call critical appraisal. So what this means is that you have now selected the studies. You now have to do what? Extract the relevant data from those studies that will be used in answering the research questions that you identified in your problem. And then you also perform what we call critical appraisal. Basically where you do what? You check for the quality of that particular evidence. And then the last thing you do is what? You do your synthesis. So this can be done through several methods. It can be done through a meta analysis, or it can be done through a narrative synthesis, or you can call it analysis. So we usually use the meta-analysis whenever we are synthesizing evidence from a quantitative study, maybe probably data that contains with statistics and all that. Whereas mathematics synthesis is highly qualitative, and narrative synthesis when there is heterogeneity. What do I mean by heterogeneity? The studies have different reports. Right? They have different scale of measuring outcomes. So we need to use a narrative synthesis to actualize it. Remember, what differs from a narrative synthesis and a thematic synthesis is that for a thematic synthesis, here it involves only qualitative studies. So you use the qualitative approach. Whereas here, you can actually synthesize both a quantitative study, maybe probably a cross-sectional study, and a qualitative study together. Alright? So this is actually the steps that you need to take for you to conduct a systematic. So when are you getting started with your first systematic review?
Soon.
Do you have any research question in mind?
No.
Why? How about which research question do you have in mind?
Not at the moment, for maybe exploring how to use AI to improve agriculture, especially in eastern part of Nigeria, since they do not have, they are not giving productive in agriculture as people in northern area.
That's a very good.
That's a very good. I think that question might require a systematic review to know the volume of research that has been conducted in that area. Right? But then for you to now explore or probably use an original research, you might have to now design a proposal for it. Do you understand? For you to now go and uncover insights. First of all, if you want to explore whether if you're looking at this research question now from a systematic review perspective, we're only interested to know if literature exists, if there is any current literature that exists that has explored artificial intelligence, probably in the East and all that. Do you understand? What systematic review does is that we want to synthesize evidence to address an overarching question. We want to pick from various papers. But now it's different that you might want to say, okay, you want to go and do some kind of investigation, primary level of investigation. So that will require you to write a proposal and come up with a primary tool that we use to have direct access to uncover insights. Don't know if that's clear. Completely. Okay. So I have questions to ask. Access. Just see that. It's a start. Okay. Alright, so now can you tell me the difference between thematic and narrative synthesis from what you've understood today?
Okay, so from what I understood, I think when it comes to narrative deals with both qualitative and quantitative data. However, the former that I said is thematic is just for quantitative.
Thematic, qualitative.
Thematic.
Whereas for
Yes.
narrative synthesis, it's when there is differences, different outcomes in some of the papers that you've chosen. Then you want to now textualize them. You want to kind of combine them, all right, because of differences.
Yes. Thank you.
And that's great.